that. I ended up getting cut off there at the 15-minute mark. I was just wrapping up talking about parents' difficulties along the way, but let me talk about some of the other challenges we were facing. So rostering was one of them in the sense that uh, doing the roster in February, the idea of getting everyone's email so that we could communicate out, but communication not being as valuable as I initially thought that it could be. It ended up making that sort of a dud in terms of value generated, and instead just doubled the work because people would have to submit that earlier roster, which is great that they were thinking about things beforehand. But then you would again have to go and kind of confirm it at the end. So ended up having everybody go through it twice, and some people were updating it throughout the term, and it just ended up being messy. So probably going to move more towards something at the end. We do need something of rostering because we want to make sure that campuses aren't getting dinged for not testing kids that aren't re-enrolling, and there's no way for us to know that. That information is not stored anywhere, but it is known at the campus level in most instances. So that's something to consider. This term also we used Sign Up Genius. I did a little bit of research, and that just seemed to be the best option. I had a couple of flaws with it. On my side, it doesn't do a good job with time zones. I had 4 different links, and it was a big hassle for me to deal with. That's not something that's visible for all, but it did come up for a couple of people when they accidentally sent out the wrong links to folks. But aside from that, the other issue with it was that campuses would want to know what kids had signed up when, for what days, and they ended up not having that information, because we can't have multiple people log into the system at the same time. So they would know that they were signed up, but not exactly when they were signed up. Something about that was a little bit clunky. If anybody has any recommendations for sign-up systems, please let me know. Student struggles, anxiety, that's going to come up all the time. That's why we have exemptions. That's why we have an 80% instead of 100% completion rate goal. And that's the nature of the beast. That is completely fine and to be expected. Not to say that means it's a good thing. It's just some kids have trauma, right? I mean, they're just not at the space where they can be doing that kind of thing, and that's totally fine. The last thing I want to talk about is the timing or time frame of it. Some campuses were testing early, January or February, which is not as great from a data perspective because teachers in the fall look at that information. They're essentially missing out on 3 months of learning, so they might underestimate what kids know. On the other hand, that does mean that when they go into those enrollment meetings, they are more inclined to have the correct information. Right? They're more likely to be prepared to make the correct recommendations for enrollment for those kids. In general, there's also just the question of spring versus fall. I think both times of year are very busy. Neither is really ideal. Fall also has all of the extra kids who are then, enrolling for the first time, so it's a lot more volume. And fall also has the problem that if you miss kids, then the information isn't even available by the time they start classes. If you test them a month into the school year, it's basically a total waste. It defeats the entire purpose. And if they miss in spring, you have the opportunity in summer or in fall to make it up, which I think makes a huge difference, which is ultimately part of the reason why spring is going to be what we're trying in the future and seeing what we can do to make it a little bit smoother. I'm considering if I can butt up against IROCS in terms of centralized testing next year. And what centralized testing will even look like is a question that's totally up in the air. But we will be doing spring testing again as our testing going into the year. So I've mentioned already a handful of things about the future. It's not totally alien or anything at this point to talk about this. But I do want to talk about just a couple other initiatives, make you aware of things that I'm thinking about. And one of those things is the enrollment process, what enrollment testing looks like, standards are around that and everything like that. So just be on the lookout for that. Definitely something that's really important. Refining administration for what that spring testing cycle looks like. I've mentioned in here a handful of things, including the exemption process and policies, including what the general process will look like, what will online testing even look like. We're not even required to do online testing next year, but I do think that it's a very valuable tool. Whether we can use certain days of the year, the reason I mentioned IROCS is because It will never compete with the teachers' classes because these classes are generally canceled on our IROC days for most campuses. And then, next year is the second year of the 3-year push towards moving us towards a DIDM, data informed decision-making organization. And next year is about integration, and a lot of that is on the systems team. A lot of that is on the ed team to make that continue to be what it looks like. But our role as administrators for the assessment is to make sure that we're getting that number up, that completion number from 63% up to 80% that we're looking for, and ensuring that that information is there so that as the integration gets built, we're prepared to make good use of it. That's pretty much it, everybody. As always, reach out to me if you have questions, but it's been great talking with you all, and I hope you have a good day.